If you are 60 years old or older, or if you have a senior citizen at home, whether it's your father, your mother, your grandfather, or your grandmother, this video is extremely important for all of you. Because what I am about to tell you today is something your doctor may never have openly explained to you. This is not a small matter. This is something that directly affects your brain, your nervous system, and the overall quality of your daily life. Please watch this video till the very end, because if you stop somewhere in the middle, you might miss the one piece of information that could actually protect your health or the health of someone you love. Now the question is, why is B12 so important in the first place? Vitamin B12 is the silent hero of our body. It doesn't show itself, but its job inside us is huge. It helps produce red blood cells, it keeps our nervous system functioning properly, and it has a direct effect on our memory and our ability to think clearly. Once we cross the age of 60, the body naturally starts absorbing B12 less efficiently than it did in younger years. And if certain medications are being taken at the same time that further reduce B12 absorption, this problem can quietly grow bigger without anyone realizing it. This is exactly why so many senior citizens have no idea that their tiredness, their forgetfulness, or the tingling sensation in their hands and feet could actually be connected to a lack of B12. Doctors and health experts say that as we age and start taking multiple medications, especially for diabetes, blood pressure, or acidity, we need to keep in mind whether these medicines, when combined, are quietly creating a deficiency of essential vitamins in the body. And when it comes to B12, there are two very common things that many people take every single day without realizing that, over time, these things can slowly bring B12 levels down. The first one is the medication given to diabetic patients, which doctors commonly know as Metformin. This is the most widely used medicine in the world for managing type 2 diabetes, and there is no doubt that it is highly effective at controlling blood sugar levels. But research shows that long-term use of this medicine can affect the body's natural process of absorbing B12. That means you could be eating well, you could even be consuming B12-rich foods, and yet the body still isn't able to absorb that B12 properly. This isn't something to panic about if it's understood and managed in time, but if it's ignored, it can slowly lead to symptoms that people often just brush off as signs of old age. The second thing, which is very common but rarely talked about, is the acidity and gas medication that doctors often refer to as acid reducers. These are the medicines that lower the amount of acid in the stomach to relieve burning sensation, sour burps, or acidity discomfort. Such medicines are often prescribed to older adults for long periods, since acidity complaints tend to increase with age. But here's the reality. Stomach acid is actually required for the body to properly absorb B12. When we take acid-reducing medicine for a long time, this natural process gets weakened too, and B12 doesn't get absorbed the way it should. So the very medicine that was given to bring you relief can, over time, quietly become the cause of another problem if it isn't monitored properly. Now, hearing all this, there is absolutely no need to panic. This video isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to make you aware. Because when we know what factors can affect us, we're able to take control of them. The very first thing to do is, if you or any senior member of your family is taking both of these types of medications, talk openly with your doctor and get your B12 levels checked. It's a simple blood test that will tell you whether your B12 levels are normal or low. If they turn out to be low, your doctor can recommend a suitable supplement or a change in diet. Let's now talk about the symptoms that point toward a B12 deficiency, so you can recognize them yourself too. The first and most common symptom is unusual fatigue. If you feel sluggish and tired throughout the day despite getting a full night's sleep, this isn't just an age-related thing, it could also be a signal of low B12. The second symptom is weakening memory or forgetting things easily. Many people dismiss this as just old age, but research shows that B12 deficiency has a direct effect on memory and concentration. The third symptom is a tingling or numb sensation in the hands and feet, almost as if a part of the body has gone to sleep. This can be a sign of B12's impact on the nervous system. The fourth symptom is poor balance while walking, such as legs feeling shaky or a sense of almost falling while walking. This too is often blamed on age, but if it's actually caused by B12 deficiency, it can be treated. The fifth symptom is a change in mood, such as unnecessary sadness, irritability, or feeling anxious without any clear reason. B12 has a direct connection to brain chemistry, and its deficiency can contribute to mood swings. The sixth symptom is a burning sensation in the mouth or the tongue appearing paler than usual. This is another sign that people often overlook completely. Individually, these symptoms might not seem alarming, but when several of them start showing up together, they can seriously affect someone's quality of life. And the saddest part is that many people simply assume this is just what happens with age and quietly put up with it, when in reality, the solution isn't that complicated at all. Now let me share something you may not have heard explained quite this way before. B12 deficiency doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, gradual process, much like a car running out of fuel little by little while it keeps moving until it finally stops completely. That's why many people keep taking these medications for years without ever realizing what's quietly happening inside their body. And until the symptoms become severe, most people don't feel the need to see a doctor about it. This is exactly the dangerous part, because the longer this deficiency continues, the deeper its effect on the nervous system becomes, and in some cases, that effect can take a long time to reverse. Another important thing that very few people know is that the effects of B12 deficiency aren't just physical, they're connected to mental health too. Several studies show that people with very low B12 levels also experience higher rates of depression and anxiety. Just imagine an elderly person who already feels lonely. If their sadness deepens further because of B12 deficiency, it becomes just as painful for their family and loved ones. This is exactly why, when we say this issue isn't just a sign of old age, we mean that it's connected to the well-being of the entire family. Let's take a real-life kind of example to make this even clearer. Imagine a 68-year-old man who has had diabetes for the past 10 years and takes Metformin. He also has a long-standing acidity problem, so he takes an acid reducer daily as well. Everything seemed fine in the beginning, but gradually he started noticing that his memory was weakening. He'd forget where he put things, his hands would occasionally go numb, and he felt more tired than before. His family assumed, he's getting older, this is normal. But when his blood was tested, it turned out his B12 levels were significantly low. His doctor prescribed a supplement, and within a few weeks, a noticeable improvement was seen in his condition. This is just one example, but stories like this are being repeated in thousands of homes every single day, simply because of a lack of awareness. You might be wondering, if this is such a common issue, why don't doctors talk about it more openly? The reason is that doctors have limited time during appointments, and they usually focus only on the condition someone came in for, such as diabetes or acidity. Long-term side effects, like B12 deficiency, often aren't part of a routine checkup unless the patient specifically asks about it. That's why it becomes your responsibility to ask your doctor directly, could this medication be affecting my B12 levels, and should I get tested? It's a small question, but it carries a huge benefit. One more important point worth mentioning here is that it's not just these two medications. There are several other factors that can affect B12 absorption too, such as excessive alcohol consumption, smoking, or certain gut health-related conditions. But since metformin and acid reducers are such widely used medications, especially common in nearly every household with senior citizens, it was important to specifically highlight these two. If you're taking any other long-term medication besides these, it's always a good idea to share your complete medication list with your doctor and discuss it in detail. Now let me share a few simple lifestyle changes you can incorporate to look after yourself better. First, keep your diet balanced. Eggs, milk, yogurt, cheese, fish, and meat are all good natural sources of B12. If these are lacking in your diet, talk to your doctor about gradually including them. Second, keep a small record of your medications, whether on your phone or on paper, so you remember exactly what you've been taking and for how long. Third, Get a complete blood checkup at least once a year that includes a B12 test. This one small step can make a real difference. Fourth, if there's an elderly person in your family who lives alone or doesn't interact with many people, looking after their health becomes even more important, because they often can't communicate their symptoms to anyone. Check in with them regularly and ask how they're feeling, whether they've noticed any new weakness or forgetfulness. This small amount of attention can bring a great deal of comfort into their life. Remember, the body always gives us signals, we just need to learn how to recognize them. Fatigue, forgetfulness, numbness in the hands and feet, mood changes, these are all signals that we often dismiss as just how things are. But if we pay a little attention, take a little time to talk to a doctor, this small effort can make a real difference in our lives and the lives of the people we love. All the information shared in this video is for awareness purposes only, so that you can ask the right questions to your doctor and get your checkup done on time. Never stop or start any medication on your own. Always make such decisions under your doctor's guidance. Health is a form of wealth that requires a little attention every single day, and if we give it that attention, living a long and comfortable life becomes truly possible. There's another angle to this that deserves attention, and that is how this whole situation quietly builds up over the years without anyone noticing. Think of it like a slow leak in a tire. The tire doesn't go flat immediately, it loses air little by little, and by the time you finally notice something is wrong, the damage has already been building for a long time. B12 deficiency works in a very similar way inside the body. Someone can be on these medications for 5, 7, even 10 years, feeling mostly fine, and then one day the fatigue becomes impossible to ignore, or the memory lapses start happening in front of family members, or the numbness in the fingers becomes constant instead of occasional. By that point, people often think something sudden has gone wrong, when in reality, it was a gradual process that had been quietly developing for years. This is also why family involvement matters so much here. Elderly parents or grandparents often don't want to bother anyone with small complaints. They might mention once that their hands feel a little strange, or that they forgot something again, and then simply move on without repeating it, assuming it's not worth discussing. It becomes the responsibility of the people around them, their children, their spouses, their caregivers, to actually pay attention to these small comments instead of letting them pass by. A single offhand remark like, "My feet felt a bit numb this morning," could be the one clue that leads to catching a deficiency early, before it becomes something much harder to reverse. It's also worth understanding why this particular topic doesn't get discussed enough publicly. Diabetes and acidity are both extremely common conditions, and the medications used for them are considered safe and effective, which they genuinely are for their intended purpose. The issue isn't that these medicines are dangerous or that people should stop taking them out of fear. The issue is that their long-term interaction with a specific vitamin isn't something that gets flagged automatically during a regular visit. Doctors are focused on managing blood sugar numbers or acidity symptoms, and unless a patient specifically raises a concern about fatigue, memory, or tingling sensations, this connection to B12 can simply slip through the cracks for years. This is precisely why raising awareness matters so much, because awareness is what closes that gap. When a patient walks into a clinic already knowing to ask, "Could my long-term metformin or acid reducer use be affecting my B12 levels?" it completely changes the conversation. Doctors are usually more than willing to order a simple blood test when a patient brings it up directly, because it costs very little and provides a lot of clarity. The real barrier isn't the test itself, it's simply not knowing that the question needs to be asked in the first place. Another point worth considering is how interconnected these small symptoms really are with everyday quality of life. A person struggling with unexplained fatigue might start withdrawing from social activities, thinking they're simply too old to keep up anymore. A person whose memory feels foggy might avoid conversations out of embarrassment, worried about forgetting names or repeating themselves. A person with numbness in their feet might become more hesitant to walk or exercise, fearing a fall. Each of these small adjustments, made quietly and without explanation, can add up to a much smaller, much more limited life than the person actually needs to be living. And in many of these cases, the root cause turns out to be something as simple and correctable as a B12 deficiency. It's also worth mentioning that recovery, once a deficiency is identified, is usually not complicated. In many cases, doctors recommend either an oral supplement or, in more significant deficiencies, an injectable form of B12, depending on how low the levels are and how the body is absorbing it. Alongside this, small dietary adjustments and continued monitoring usually help bring things back into a healthy range over time. The point here isn't that this is some untreatable, permanent condition. Quite the opposite, it's one of the more manageable health issues out there, as long as it's caught and addressed rather than dismissed. So, to bring everything together, if there's one thing to take away from this video, it's this: don't automatically assume that fatigue, forgetfulness, tingling sensations, mood changes, or balance issues in an elderly loved one are simply part of getting older. These could just as easily be signals worth checking, especially if metformin or a long-term acid reducer is already part of their daily routine. A simple conversation with a doctor and a basic blood test could be the difference between years of quietly declining quality of life and a straightforward, manageable fix. All the information shared in this video is for awareness purposes only, so that you can ask the right questions to your doctor and get your checkup done on time. Never stop or start any medication on your own. Always make such decisions under your doctor's guidance. Health is a form of wealth that requires a little attention every single day, and if we give it that attention, living a long and comfortable life becomes truly possible. If you found this video helpful and learned something new from it, please make sure to subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you important and essential information like this.